Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be making an enclosure for a truly wonderful and bizarre looking dinosaur, the Deinocheirus. And here you can see we've got three different skins. This is the bald Deinocheirus. I've got so used to seeing it with feathers on it now that this just looks bizarre now. It looks like it's naked. It looks like it's forgotten to put its clothes on. I can't get used to seeing it looking like this. So we're going to go for the top skin, which is just a darker colour of feather there. So you can see that's the female. Changed to male. He's got a bit more pattern on him. Looks like he's got a bit of a blue on his bill. But yes, we're going to use the top skin for this one. Okay, so here we go. I've chose a map in England this time. I want to go for quite a flat map to create a swamp habitat for this animal, as that's what we believe that they would have lived in, some kind of aquatic lifestyle. So what I'm doing this time is I'm actually putting the animals in first thing to get an idea of how big they are. I don't want to make the enclosure too small for them or too large. So we're just going to put them over here. I wanted to move them a little bit away from the edge of the map there. I don't want to run out of space. And the first thing we're going to do is build a lovely little island for them. Their own little island where they can have some privacy from the guests. And the guests are going to walk around the habitat and even into the habitat. We're going to have some a boardwalk going over the water so you can get a good look at them. So put a nice cave in there, smoothen the edges of the island, and put around the edges a bit of mud so it looks a bit more as if it's dried out in the centre from that sand, and it's still wet around the edges from when the Deinocheirus have walked out and trotted on the mud. And yes, lovely. Get rid of those windows and those railings. Check that he fits in. Wonderful. And here is one of my favourite trees. I forget what the tree was called now, but it is in the swamp habitat trees. And what I like about this game is you can actually type in the tree that you like, and that way you can change the size of the actual tree. Put a nice dead tree in there as well for him to have a good scratch. Yes, put a few reed beds in, a few swamp plants. I do love the swamp habitat on this game. It's really nice. It's really pretty. I just like the way it looks. But a few jungle trees in here, just to mix it up a little bit. A few more plants, and it's now starting to come together. I like the way this island is looking, and you've just got to make it look a little bit overgrown. Use different types of plants, and I've just brought the sun over there so I can actually see, get the lighting right. And here we're just going to put a bit of overgrowth on the cave, make it look a bit more natural, and as if it's been here a long time. The jungle has overgrown over the cave, and that is looking rather nice. Okay, so let's get some facts up about this prehistoric goose. It's just basically a giant goose, isn't it, the way it looks, that big bill on it and covered in feathers. So yes, its name means the terrible hand. I don't think I really need to explain why. When you look at the claws on the thing, you certainly would not want to be on the receiving end of those. Yes, and those claws, I know if you've watched Prehistoric Planet, you see the Deinocheirus grabbing plants up to use them to grab the plants up to eat them. But I do suspect that it could also use it as weapons. And the animals that this creature would have been living alongside with are things like Tarbosaurus and Velociraptors. I don't think Velociraptors would pose much of a threat because it's just that huge, but Tarbosaurus definitely. So, you know, if Tarbosaurus went in lunging for a bite and the Deinocheirus just walloped it with its claws, it could probably do some damage. So I think Tarbosaurus would probably think, do you know what, I'll leave you alone. I'll leave the swamp monster well alone. Imagine going through the swamp and you come across that thing. God, must have been quite a sight to see. It is basically the Shrek of the dinosaur world. Just living in his swamp, happy as can be. Any intruders come in, he just comes running out. Get out my swamp! So yes, we're just smoothing in the edges here, and what I'm going to build here is a hide. But I put these in first to get an idea of what I want, like the size and the shape, and then I just put logs over them and start stacking up those logs to make a nice little cabin style hide, and then delete them and then just copy that. And then I realised the logs are completely all over the place, so I have to just straighten them up, and then we can start using that as the walls and put them around the hide. So instead of going bird watching, you can go, I mean, I suppose it is a big bird really, you can go Deinocheirus watching. You can go into the hide, sit there and look through your binoculars and just watch them in their natural habitat. And what I like about the hide idea is that when you're in a hide, a lot of animals don't know you're there, so they'll behave like they normally would, which is nice because you know, you're not disturbing them. You can just sit in the hide peacefully, maybe take a packed lunch and just chill out and observe them. So just putting a door in there and squashing down the logs. Lovely stuff. Now what I really should have done, looking at this in hindsight, put some signs in, I should have put in the floor first, because later on I'm trying to squash the floor together by freehand, and yeah, it would have been better to just stick them all together and then build around the flooring. So you can see here I'm putting the floor in and I'm putting it in freehand, just trying to line it up. But I'd already committed at this point and I thought, oh, we'll just go along with it. But now looking back, it would have been a lot easier to just simply put the floor in, snap it together, because you can go freehand or you can click grids and then you can put them in, they'll snap together, which makes it a bit easier to build with. And here I was going to put a little window, and I thought, you know what, no, I'm just going to put a slit, so just leave the whole thing open, just like that, yes, which I kind of like. Aye, so you've got plenty of room in there for the guests to get a good view. And you know I put the dinosaurs in to get an idea of the sense of the scale, but I do think I did make this enclosure very, very big. A lot bigger than I realised. I think I didn't even realise at this point how big it was. It's later on when I'm actually finishing it off, I think, oh god, this is very big. But I suppose at least the animals have lots of room to explore and to roam, and that's what matters really. We want our dinosaurs to be happy. We want them to You know, they come first, not the guests. So if anyone complains saying we came and we didn't see a Deinocheirus, we're not happy, we want our money back. We're like, well, that is part of the risk of coming here. You might not see a dinosaur, but that's what makes it part of the fun, really. You come along, you may see a dinosaur, you may not. You have to, you know, go out with your, you might give them a dinosaur card of what they can expect to see in certain enclosures, and you tick them off as you go by. So here we're just putting in a path leading up to the hide, and that's going to curve round. And I wanted there to be two entrances and exits, so you could just, whichever way you're coming from, you can go in there. We're not going to make it like a one-way system or something like that. No time for that. A few trees to make the hide blend in. We don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. And here at the back, I was just going to have trees, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to put in a little pond, and I do that later. And here I'm just putting in the roof. And then I thought, you know what, we're going to make it slant. We'll just delete some of the logs and shorten them down. And I know there's a few gaps here, but to be honest, I think it'd be quite good because you probably get birds coming in. What's that bird now? Is it pine martins or not pine martins? That's what they call now, house martins, I think they're called. And they make little mud nests inside barns and things like that. So this would be a perfect habitat for the birds as well. So we're not just making habitats for dinosaurs, we're even thinking of the modern day animals that live around here as well. And of course the swamp will be great habitat for frogs and newts, fish as well. And it is believed that maybe Deinocheirus would have ate fish as well with its bill. To be honest, I think it would have just been a massive omnivore. I think it would have eaten anything it could have got in its mouth. It probably ate snakes, lizards, amphibians, eggs, anything it came across it probably would have just scoffed, including lots of water plants. So I'm just doing the edges here of the map. And it is a really big map when you think of how much space they have here to explore. So they're going to be very happy Deinocheirus. And happy Deinocheirus means that they will hopefully breed. And what I'm going to do later is I'm going to build a little nest. And I'll show you how I do that later. I'm putting another dead tree in for them to have a good scratch because, as we know, blood-sucking flies will infest their coats. Things like mosquitoes and things will be breeding in this water. That's where mosquitoes lay their eggs, so there's going to be a lot of bugs and insects here. So we need to provide lots of things for them to scratch on because they do become very, very irritating. So yes, I'm just blending all that in, and now we're blending it in a bit more with some overgrown ivy, some plants, just so it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. Lovely. Just make it a few different sizes as well, so it doesn't look too similar. But yes, I'm quite happy with that hide. Right. And here we're going to have like a little beach area. Nice little sandy area for them to come and, I don't know, have a sunbathe. A few more. I do love the way the swamp looks though. I love the swamp in this game. And you can see there with the lily pads, you can just put them in and then it selects them all into one group. So rather than having to go around everywhere doing loads and loads of lily pads, you can just select a big group and do one big chunk of lily pads. So here I'm putting in the fence, and I thought you might be thinking that looks like a very small fence, but don't worry, we are putting in a bigger one. Um, so that taller one will prevent you from actually getting to the animal, because I thought that one, even though it's tall enough, a guest could easily put their hand through the fence, and I don't want anyone getting attacked by the Deinocheirus. So we're going to have two fences, and you see that in quite a few zoos, don't you? Just two fences to keep the guests. Well, that one is for the animals, one is for the guests. So that way everybody's safe. Because you would have some guests. I mean, if they really wanted to, I suppose they could climb over the first one and get in, but yes, I suppose. But this just prevents any small children putting their hands in and getting attacked. We don't want anything like that. And then just curving the path around here nicely. There we go, nice and smooth, beautiful. And then we can put in the little pond here. Maybe get some koi fish, possibly. Delete those bushes there to make it look a bit smoother. What I like to do is, once you put the trees in, there we go, the mangrove tree is a really bushy tree. Look how bushy it is, it's gone through the wall. Delete those ones. But yes, if the trees look a bit too barren when you put them in, if you have some mangrove trees, it can make it more thick. And then there's another type of bush that you can put low on the ground that fills in the spaces. So here we are now building the pond, and I'm just going to put in a few little rocks to make it look more natural rather than just a big puddle, and put a few lilies in as well for a bit of colour. I do like the lilies, and a few bulrushes as well. Wonderful. And then smoothing that path around there so it looks a bit more, flows better. The feng shui of the park. And I tried that tree then, I thought it makes it a bit too dark, so I thought I'm going to leave that. And then some signs here that can say the Deinocheirus hide is this way. And then I was looking at a bit of decoration. But I thought, you know what, no, I'm going to just put some more rocks in here. And those rocks look a little bit too grey, and as if they look like they're from a mountain or something. And that's when I decided, oh, we can make them nice and mossy, as if they're in a wetland kind of habitat. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing with the cave that they're in, because the cave is just black rock. So I thought, you know what, we'll come back to that later and change the colour of the rock over there. So now is time to put in the boardwalk. So this is going to immerse you in the swamp with the dinosaurs, and I'm just getting an idea of how tall they are here, so I know how tall to make the platform, because I don't want you walking past and a Deinocheirus just pops its head over and is within range of just grabbing someone. So we've got to make it tall enough, and we're just going to put these nice railings on the side, just getting an idea of how big they need to be. And here I was having a few problems with the snapping of the grids, but I got the hang of it in the end. And what I want to do is I want to make it nice and curved. I don't want to just have it straight. I want it to curve around and bend through the habitat and take you on a journey into the swamp. So now you're not just looking into the enclosure, you're going in to the enclosure. So I'm just getting an idea of how big the stairs need to be here. Some more stair climbing to keep the guests nice and fit, but not as much in this one. They won't be doing as much exercise. In the Paraceratherium it's a bit that was a lot of stairs. This one, it's just more of a relaxing kind of theme. You know, you can sit by the hide and relax. You can go on the boardwalk for a stroll. It's not like the other one where you're walking up loads of stairs to get to the top of the cliff for the view. This is a much more relaxed kind of theme we're going for. So I'm just going to bend these around here, and then I'll fill in the gaps. That was quite good actually, how you can just have that nice curve shape there. To help, I just want it to look nice and smooth. And then copy and paste that over, boom, onto the other side. Lovely. And then put in some logs for support. Beautiful. So those gaps, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the quarter moons. I've tried with this, but this is actually a wall, I think. So this, I'm not sure whether the guests would actually walk on it. I was going to try and place that in, but it was just a pain to try and do. So instead, I gave up and thought, you know what, I'm just going to put in the quarter moons, because they just work a lot easier than having to faff about with this. But I think what would be good, I remember Zoo Tycoon 2 had the platforms that the guests could go on like this. Here I'm trying to do it with a rectangle instead, but Zoo Tycoon 2 was really easy with that, because you could just put it in as if it was a path. So it would be quite good to put something in like that, because it is quite hard to build some of these things. It can be quite difficult if you're not used to the controls. Well, I'm still getting used to the controls now, but yes, I think that would be quite good. Instead of having just paths, you could click on raised platforms and just click and then curve it, and then if you could press another key to adjust the height or something like that. But yeah, I think, to be honest, the way it looks at the end, I'm quite happy with it. But I'm just getting in the basic structure here, and here I'm going to put on this lovely roof. So this can be another like little viewing platform for the guests to enjoy the lovely habitat. Wonderful. Okay, so let's get a few more facts about the Deinocheirus. So this animal is an ornithomimosaur. So believe it or not, this creature is actually related to Ornithomimus and Gallimimus, Struthiomimus, all from the same family. Even though it doesn't look like one of them, it's just evolved into this huge giant goose or kind of duck-like creature, swamp monster. But yeah, it's related to them. I think it's the largest of the group actually, 11 meters long, so just a meter short of Tyrannosaurus Rex. So it is pretty close to being that size, and it weighed in at 6.5 tons. Now I'm sure Tyrannosaurus is around 8 tons, something like that. So it's a big animal. It's a hefty animal, and if it had anything the aggression that a goose or even a swan has, you imagine a swan will take on humans. Even though we're bigger, the swan is very aggressive. Imagine if this creature was like that. My God, you wouldn't stand a chance. Imagine just like canoeing down the river, and then you just hear a hiss. You turn around, and the Deinocheirus has chosen that you today are getting it because you've wandered into his territory. Yes, it is. It's not what you want. So here you can see I'm just making the enclosure go around. I think this is why it got bigger actually, because as I built this in, I then had to say, well, I'm going to immerse you in to the habitat, and then the habitat just keeps growing. So yeah, I was just checking there, you could go underneath the bridge, putting in the railings here just to fit it all in. Lovely jubbly. Nice. And I think it does look rather nice, that platform. Even though you can see some of the lines where things are joined together, you get what we're getting at here, and it looks rough as well. It looks a little bit rough, like it's not perfectly built. You know what I mean? It's not pristine. It's in a swamp. You know what I mean? Things would be, wood would be rotting and stuff like that, so it wouldn't look all completely. I mean, obviously, we would have safety regulations. People would come out and check the decking. We don't want anyone's foot going through the decking. Yes, that would not be nice at all. And then we're just angling things in here. And slot that in, copy and paste. Lovely stuff. Wonderful. Yeah, and then we're just going to put up a bit of a hill area here, just to basically corner off the exhibit. I don't want you to be able to see a fence, like, oh, so that's where the end of the enclosure is. I want it to just drift off, you still look like you're in the wild. So I'm just going to put some mossy rocks in there to make it look a little bit more natural, rather than just a straight jump up in height. A few rocks to blend it in, bit of mud, lovely stuff. And it's looking rather nice. I am quite happy with this actually. Yes, it's like an enchanted swamp. In fact, this enclosure is so big, we could probably have other animals in it. I mean, it could share this habitat with other creatures. To be honest, you could have some sauropods in there. I mean, I'm sure this dinosaur was found in Mongolia, so you could have things like Mongolia Titan. I think it's that was on. I think it was on Prehistoric Planet, that animal. Or you could have. I'm trying to think of other swamp creatures that would be happy sharing this environment with the Deinocheirus, because it's such a big enclosure. You could have a few creatures living in here. And when you go off on your journey through the swamp, you could be given, like I said before, a little card, and you say, oh, can you spot all the creatures that live in the prehistoric swamps of Mongolia? And you just tick it off as you go along. So just fill that in with trees to make it corner off the whole area. And then we'll build another bridge going across. And here, oh, there you go, I've changed all the rocks to green. I think that looks better now, to be honest. And here we're just doing the path on the other side. And finish it off with the fence there. Lovely. Yes, I can imagine just coming here and just seeing a few different species. One enclosure I would really like to do is a Jurassic habitat with Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus and Stegosaurus, but they're not in the game yet. There's only Brachiosaurus, so I'm going to have to wait for that. And here I'm just making the water a bit deeper because I wanted them to swim, but I don't think you can actually place the dinosaur in deep water, because I thought, is that because I've not smoothed it? Because when something's a bit too rough, the terrain, you can't place the dinosaur on it. It says, it's not able to do it. So I made a big pool that was deep and tried to put it in, and it wouldn't go in. So I was like, oh right, maybe it's because it's maybe it has to go there itself and swim in. I really want to see this animal swimming. I think that'd be really good, really cool to see. Deinocheirus swimming in his swamp. Brilliant. And then we'll put the railings on here. It's all coming together now, isn't it? It's looking rather nice. I would love to go to this park if it existed, but unfortunately we haven't brought them back yet. You never know. There could be a time when we do. So that's looking rather nice now. And just fill in the gaps. Now, believe it or not, the Deinocheirus are so happy in their new enclosure that they have began to build a nest. I know, it's unbelievable. So that's why we've put so many dead trees in, because all the dead wood is brilliant nesting material for them to build their nests. So as you can see here, they've been gathering the wood and making a nice little circular nest. Test that he fits there. And for the eggs, what I've used is a snowball, and then just elongate the snowball to make it a nice long shape. So a lot of dinosaurs, they tend to have really long shaped eggs like this. I think it's only sauropods that have big round eggs, I think. I might be wrong there though. I'm sure I've seen an iguanodon egg in a museum that was round, I'm not sure, but a lot of them are long like this. So we're going to pretend that these snowballs, these are not snowballs, these are Deinocheirus eggs, and very soon we will be seeing baby Deinocheirus hatch from the eggs, and they will be wandering round, following their parents, swimming behind them, and their parents will dig up plants with their claws from the bottom of the pond and feed their offspring. So I'm quite happy with that nest. I think it looks rather nice. And here I think I'm just putting in the tree a bit bigger to provide some shade for the eggs. And as you can see, the dead tree is right next to the nest. So these Deinocheirus are very smart. They thought, why go and build the nest somewhere else? Let's build it under this dead tree. We have a perfect place to collect to collect sticks that have fell off it. You know, work smart, not hard. Yes, instead of foraging around the swamp for pieces of dead wood, just do it that way. And here I was testing out whether to put this in, but it just didn't look right. I think it takes it away from the actual the other thatch roof there. I think it just takes it away. So instead we're just gonna put in another one here and put some posts to support it. Lovely stuff. I'm sure they're going to have breeding in this game as well. That'll be really good. And that would be a good behaviour. Imagine if the dinosaurs actually built their nests themselves, you know. That would be really cool. You know, you could sit back in the hide or on these viewing platforms with your binoculars and just watch them foraging and then collecting wood. It would be a sight to behold. Aye. Yes, it would be very good. So that is coming along nicely. Put some bulrushes there because it's looking a bit bland. We need to put some foliage in, help it blend in, and then we're just going to curve this back round, and then you're going to come off the other side. And what I thought is, after all that, the guests would want to come down and they're probably going to want something to eat. So we're going to make a little restaurant or a little cafe and I'm going to make it in a theme of a boathouse. so it doesn't just look like a little cafe at the end. It's going to suit the environment that we're in. It's going to be a little boathouse. It's going to have a little dock by the side of it, and it's going to immerse you in this world rather than just, oh, here's a nice restaurant at the end. So here I'm just getting a feel for where it's going to go, smoothing down the edges of the swamp, and so I've copied and pasted the log cabin walls of the hide, just putting in some mud here to blend this in, and we're going to start building the log house. And I should have probably used the snapping mechanism here to build this, but I wanted to do it freehand this time, because I mean, I know it would have probably been easier and it would have looked more neat, but I don't want it to look too neat because this is an old log cabin, and I think the rougher it looks, the better. It's going to look, nice and... Oh, and here I've squashed all my logs. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I'm going to use the snapping mechanism here for the floor, so I can just get that in nice and easy. But for the walls and the roof, I want to make it a bit more, I don't know, just seem like it's been there for a while. So we're just lining all this up here. And yes, it's looking... Well, it starts to look better in a minute when I put it in. So we put the logs in. And this is where you would come and dock your boat. And just testing out the roof here, where it's going to go. But the problem is that then the tiles look too big when you've made it that size. So I thought I need to make it smaller, and then try and blend it in. But I do like the way it looks in the end. And this could be also a place for the keepers to maybe go out. We could actually have some boats in there, some canoes. The keepers could go out, and if there's something that needs doing, some work in the swamp, the keepers could go out and canoe round, trying not to get attacked by the Deinocheirus. The Deinocheirus might like them, they might recognise the keepers and actually get along with them. Who knows? So I'm just doing this bit here, so it goes straight down and then bends out a little bit at the edge of the roof, just to give the building some character, you know. And then we can put the logs all the way going up to the top here. Lovely stuff. I'm just gonna squash them in to you just got to try and judge it. You put them all the way up to the top, and then you can start squashing them in to try and fit. Lovely. And at the back of the boathouse, that's where the restaurant's going to be. So the guests can walk round to the back of it and get fed there. They can make their order, and inside the boathouse is where the people will be cooking. Hopefully the Deinocheirus doesn't smell the food and come to pay a visit. But yeah, so we're going to put the dock in here and just put some barrels and some baskets just to give it a bit more character. And finish off that roof. Lovely. Yes. Probably would have been better snapping it in there, but maybe, I don't know, I want the roof to kind of have a bit of character and bend a bit, but it was harder than I thought. A bit tougher than I anticipated. Put in some posts there for tying up your boats. Lovely. And maybe the staff can go off and catch some fish and serve that in the restaurant. You know, the catch of the day could be some trout or some carp, you know, freshly caught this morning. Deinocheirus was trying to escape there. Why would you try and go out there on that grassy plain when you have this lovely swamp to go around in, you know. And we're just putting in some more bushes so it doesn't look so bland. Some trees. And some trees here to blend in the environment a bit more. Lovely. Wonderful stuff. So it's getting there now. It's nearly done. You can see the shape of the exhibit coming together. Put another fence in to stop people from putting their hands into the exhibit, and put that in a bit more, get that curve right. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how this is looking. It's looking rather nice, and that gives a bit of character as well, that building. I do like that. I'm going to put some rope in here as well. This is where you tie up your boats so they don't float off. I should really make some canoes, actually. I don't know how I'd make them. I mean, you can make anything, so basically I just have to start looking at how I can put things together and just try and get creative to how to make some canoes by the side of the boathouse. But yes, and this is looking a bit barren, so I put a few plants in, a few more bulrushes. Lovely. And look at all that space they've got, you know, loads of habitat there for them to wander about in and explore. I think they'd be very happy, and they've got it all to themselves as well. No one else in there to share it with, just themselves. Lovely. So here we are inside, just finishing off the walls. Lovely stuff. And copy and paste that over. I've just been thinking what the Deinocheirus hump was used for, because it's got not quite a sail like a Spinosaurus, but there is a lump on its back, a big hunchback. So I was thinking, possibly, what if it was used very much like a camel's hump is, for like maybe fat reserves, something like that, because back then there's only 2 seasons, dry and wet. You know, you don't have spring and winter and stuff like that. It's just dry, wet. So I'm thinking maybe these swamps back then during the dry season, maybe they completely dried up and just, you know, maybe there was droughts and there was no food for them to eat, and possibly they had to have these humps on their back for emergency, in case they ever needed some fat reserves just for emergencies. But I don't know, it's just a thought. It could be wrong, might not have been used for that at all, but I was just thinking, why does this creature have such a big lump on its back? And it's not the only one. I think Acrocanthosaurus, that has a bit of a raised lump on its back as well. Very interesting. Or maybe it's just to make it look bigger, you know. Maybe that's what the sail of Spinosaurus is for, not just for display, but possibly for making the animal look larger than it. I mean, it's already flipping massive, you know. But yeah, I want to look a bit bigger, you know. But you got to think all the animals back then were very big. Well, not all of them, but you know, a lot of them were huge. So maybe it's just they're all competing for who's the biggest, who's the largest, who's the strongest. You know, don't mess with me. Look, I am big. Like, stay back, or you're going to get these claws in your face, you know. You wouldn't want to mess with this creature. So I'm just putting in them rocks there at the back to just finish off the enclosure, just to corner that in, rather than just putting a fence in. It looks a bit nicer to put a rock in. And then putting in my favourite tree. I love that tree. Reminds me of the tree off Avatar. Oh, it's lovely. And you can make these trees massive as well, so you could actually make that probably to the size of the one of Avatar. That would be quite a good idea to make an Avatar exhibit, an Avatar themed exhibit. That would be quite something, wouldn't it? Wow. So yeah, here we're just putting in the area where the guests can sit and enjoy their lovely meal that has been made in the boathouse. Caught freshly from the docks, the dodgy docks this morning. Lovely. I'm just putting some mud there to blend everything in. Very nice. So yes, that is getting pretty close to being finished now. I'm just putting in the finishing touches just to, oh yeah, put them railings in. God, don't forget that. We don't want the guests falling off the edge. Get rid of that mangrove tree that's just mangrove, not mango tree. Mangrove tree from growing up through the decking. And all we're doing now is just putting in the finishing touches for these to finish off this enclosure. So yes, very nice. And what I'll do the same thing again that I did last time, because this video is a long one. I will split it, so I'll make a separate video that can come out tomorrow of a full tour of the exhibit, so you can see it, you know, as the guests would, and I'll give a bit of a few nice shots of the Deinocheirus enjoying their exhibit at the end. And put another dead tree in. You can't put enough dead trees in this exhibit to scratch on and make nests out of. Nice little log, and there you go. Put a few trees here in the water, swamp forest, and then finish off the edges with a bit of mud. So there we go. That's looking really nice, and then blend it in. That's what it's all about. It's just blending it in and making it look it's lovely stuff. I'm pretty happy with this. Let me know what you think. Any ideas that you've got, anything that could be added to improve it, what you liked. Yes, I'm just going to put in this just to break it up a bit. See, I like that how you can bend the tree. You can like make it taller or fatter, or you know, you can. It's good how you've just got the freedom. And here I'm just going to put a tarp in to provide some shade for the guests while they queue. But don't worry, you won't be queuing for very long, because the service here is absolutely outstanding. You know, you won't be waiting long at all. Some posts to support the tarps, some vending machines for some snacks, and then here we have the place where you can order your food and get some well-needed meal after that stroll through the swamp. And we'll just put that in the middle there, so people can queue in an orderly fashion, and some bins for the litter to keep the zoo tidy, and a few picnic tables and then we'll just corner that off there to make it a bit more private. Lovely. So there you have it. The exhibit is finally complete. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and comment down below, and subscribe. Tomorrow I'll be putting out a more in-depth look at a tour of the enclosure, if you'd like to see that. And if you're not watching this as it's coming out, I'll leave a link at the end of the video. So thank you very much, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.